Hello there, Clapperheads, and welcome to a brand new episode of ClapperTalks. I'm Nick Dorian, and joining me today is a very special guest, the one and only Tony Eusoff. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Woohoo! I'm one and only.
Yeah, you are. Now, if you don't know who Tony is, where have you been living? Maybe outside of Malaysia. But even outside of Malaysia, you are relatively known as well, which we will get into in a little bit. But if you're in Malaysia, Tony's name is practically synonymous with Malaysian film and television. And I am here to talk to you a little bit about where you first got your start and how you got into it. So tell me, you, again, like I said, you've practically made yourself a household name within the industry. Like if you grew up within...
Are you calling me Colgate? Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. You were synonymous with Colgate, if I say so myself. But growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and later part of 2010s, you could not run anywhere without knowing Tony Eusoff. Every machi out there, every Malay girl really swooning over you. Now, what I have to ask is, how did that start? Was this something that you started off as a child going, ooh, I love what people are doing on the screen, I want to do that too, or did it come later on in life?
It definitely came later on. I mean, I grew up in the kampung, and I come from Kuching, Sarawak, and I don't come from the city of Kuching.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the outskirts of Kuching, and traditionally, especially where I come from, we don't, the furthest thing to us would be to want to be an actor. Like it just doesn't happen. Like that kind of thought just never exists.
Mm-hmm.
Especially back then. So you just go to school and you do your thing of try to get as much education as you can. And I went to university and I did architecture.
Okay.
Because I like drawing, and I want to do fine arts after my Form 5. And the only public university that offered fine arts at the time, I don't know now, but at the time was UITM, Bumiputra, because I'm Bumiputra, baby. Yeah. And I didn't get a credit for my friggin' BM. Can you believe it?
How?
Because my BM sucked. My BM was very, very bad.
What were you growing up speaking then?
Well, my mother tongue being the first language, which is Bidayu.
Oh yes, okay.
And then of course, and then English from various sources. One of the main sources is James Bond. I'll get back to it. And then of course, the Malay that we do speak back home would be the Sarawak Malay, which is entirely different from the standard syllabus Malay.
Yeah.
Bahasa Malaysia. So Bahasa Melayu Sarawak is entirely a different breed of Malay. So Bahasa Malaysia would not be something spoken on a daily basis out of school, outside school. So it was literally a language that was just reserved for, being taught in the classroom.
Okay.
So, that obviously, what does that mean? That means you do not really nurture proficiency in BM, right?
Yeah.
So, so hence when I got my SPM results, I didn't get credit. And I couldn't get into UITM because they insisted on a credit. And by some glitch, University Malaya absorbed me in, and I did matriculation for 2 years. And after matriculation, you get to decide, well, also depending on your results of matriculation, you get to decide on, what courses you want to take. And, the default courses will be engineering, medicine. I wasn't good enough for medicine. I mean, I never wanted to be a doctor anyway. It's just too messy,
Okay.
So I wanted, but then, the closest course to drawing was architecture.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, I'll do architecture, and it was fun. It's one of no regrets doing it, no regrets studying it. A lot of regrets when I came out to work, but no, because as a fresh grad, we were earning buttons. Okay.
Yeah.
I graduated in 2001. And I was earning $1,600 in an office in an architect's firm, a design and build firm.
Yeah.
So stuck it out for about 10 months, $1,600 living in KL.
Yeah,
I was
that's
paying for a room for 350, paying for my Swara, my first car, for 650. That's 1,000 gone.
Yeah.
So I have $600 to play with for fuel, for food, for God forbid recreation. But so yeah, so I so it was then you start feeling disenfranchised because like, wow, I slogged all those years for what?
Yeah.
Like, and it was $1,600 for the work-life balance was, can I say shit?
yeah, you can.
Because we had no OT. I mean, isn't like we did a lot of OT, but it was part of the deal. You do not claim
Sounds like
for your
things
OT.
haven't changed.
They haven't, because because I obviously still keep in touch with my ex-uni mates and all that, and half of them are still at it. The other half have gone like myself, have gone completely diversified.
Yeah.
They say that even the fresh grads now, okay, this was 2001, $1,600. Now maybe 2,000. $400 increment in the last
20 years?
25, 20, 28, 29 years now. Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
That is quite bad.
Not 29. Like, what am I talking about? 25, 24 years. Yeah.
So is that why you wanted to find something else apart from architecture because of the payment?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it something you wanted to still pursue?
I completely forgot why about the question. So yeah, I did architecture, and then that was that, and then I, utterly from wanting to earn more and to make a better living, because I was still asking money from my mom, and so I did sales and marketing, because with an architectural degree, it's a very specific degree.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to go anywhere else. Like everything else is specific as well. Like I knew nothing about computers, very little. I knew nothing about, say, because architecture is not quite engineering. Obviously, I couldn't do engineering.
Yeah.
Didn't want to anyway. So sales and marketing was the safest, sort of like anybody could go in, provided they're willing to learn and do the sales, do the marketing. So that's what I did for a while. And then while holding down a day job, I was scouted by sheer luck for a TV commercial.
Okay.
In 2003. And I started getting calls to do TV commercials, because back then it was a lot, the money for TV commercials was a lot better. And because they had this policy called MIM, Made in Malaysia, that stipulated all ads, including international brands.
Okay.
For instance, let's say a Colgate ad. I just mentioned Colgate. So, predominantly they'd be shot in, say, Thailand or something.
Yeah.
Because the backup there is a lot better and a lot more efficient, cheaper.
Yeah.
Cost effective and whatnot. And then they would produce it, a general ad for any country within Southeast Asia that didn't have the policy like we did. See, our policy stipulated that, even though it was shot in Thailand, and so that you can't, whatever ads shown on national TV had to be made with local talent.
Okay.
So this was all good until 2006. I think that's when they lifted the policy, the Made in Malaysia policy. So pre-2006, it was all good. Because we had to shoot we had to shoot Malaysian versions of these international brands.
Yeah.
So I would do maybe one TV commercial shoot every 2 months or so. Okay. And that was easy because it was just 1 or 2 days tops. And you would just take an MC, for my day job. I mean, like, you
had to do what you had to do.
Yeah, you had to do what you had to do. Well, it doesn't have to be an MC. It could be like an unpaid leave, anything, right? As long as you tell it beforehand.
Yeah.
And then I was a cabin crew for a while, and while I was still doing the TV commercial gigs. And then I think one of my ads, first time I had this huge close-up of my mug, and the storyline was very romantic. It was about it was a paint ad, and the storyline was very romantic in that I was surprising my wife with a beautiful house, something like that, and I gave her the keys, and so it was a romantic storyline, and first time close up of my face and fresh face in the TV commercial arena. Yeah. And this director spotted and asked me, says, "You wanna be a part of this film?" I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." But But then I started like, hey, this is a lot of fun. And I've always been a movie buff.
Okay.
And being a movie buff and seeing what happens on set, and this time, okay, this was all film time, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's not digital yet. It was just
the 60mm reels and all that.
So, it was a lot of fun. And I thought, I was still in my 20s then. I thought I'd give this a shot.
Yeah.
And I'd never looked back since.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to come back to the fact that you said you were a cabin crew.
Yeah.
Aren't you scared of heights?
Yes, but which is I am extremely. But that's a weird thing. I'm not afraid when I'm on on a flight.
Okay.
Because I think there's the lack of that connection.
Okay.
I think I'm only scared of heights if I'm on a building, on a structure that still has that physical connection to the ground.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, when you're off, it's just because I've been paragliding, like tandem.
Okay.
And as I lifted off, no issue. No issue. Yeah.
But standing on a balcony, then that's where okay.
I don't know. I think it's that connection.
Okay.
I can't think of any other reason.
But I still have to give you credit because I know there is a story that I think Tony Pietra told us about when you guys were filming, not Shadow Play, but True Up. And you were standing on a balcony for the whole time, and nobody knew you were afraid of heights, and you still went and did it.
You know what? I've done shoots before where I had to be dangling off an edge almost, but those were bigger shoots that had better safety. And Chua, because it's independent as hell, did not have but it was just unnerving for me. Like I live in the 6th floor of my apartment, of my apartment building, and I've gotten used to it by now, but say 12th, 10th onwards, I'd be I mean, it's controllable. It's not, my phobia is not that bad.
Okay.
But I guess it's a sensible phobia.
Okay, it is a very sensible phobia.
Yeah, it tells me not to fool around in balconies and windows on the 20th floor or something like that.
Please don't, Tony. We still want you here for a long time.
Yeah. And knowing my luck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all.
Now, coming back to what you talked about, Bond.
Yes.
Being an influence.
Yeah.
Were there any, as you were growing up, local influences or international influences that really spurred you into getting into the industry even more?
Like I said, it was because I was a movie buff. I didn't grow up consciously wanting to be an actor, but because I loved movies, I just loved movies.
Yeah.
And then, so I got introduced to all the James Bond. Okay, so my mom worked for the Scottish priest as a housekeeper.
Okay.
While I was growing up, and the Scottish priest is like my father figure. I call him my dad. He's the closest thing I have to a dad, and so he was the one who introduced me. And he's Scottish, so he's big on Sean Connery.
Oh,
right?
Of course.
And so Sean Connery comes from Glasgow as well, and he's also from Glasgow. So of course there's that connection, and he's proud of his countrymen, right?
Yeah.
So he introduced Sean Connery's James Bond, and of course then Roger Moore and all that. And which kid would not love James Bond, right?
Course.
I mean, I was. If you don't love, I was very young. I started getting into the James Bond movies when I was about 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I would do literally, because the house I was living in was literally next door to a Chinese school.
Okay,
that's why I went to Chinese primary school.
Okay,
from door to door, 2 minutes flat. So I would wake up. Our schools start early here, right? So I'd wake up early enough to catch half an hour of James Bond before I go to shower and get ready for school.
Yeah.
So that was my morning motivation. And my mom knew that. So they gave me that, okay, Gabe, whatever gets you started.
Yeah.
So I go up, run upstairs, watch, put on the VCR, for half an hour. Okay, gotta go. So that kept me going. So that half an hour of, so I would cut up a James Bond movie into 4 parts of half hour, right? Or so.
You were doing Netflix series before you even started,
right? so that's the motivation to go to school every morning was half hour of James Bond.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's from so it started from there, and then of course from that it went on to other things like I got introduced to Monty Python, him being like I said, because of that, it's all from that Scottish priest's influence, my dad, right? Then Blackadder and a lot of British humor. I grew up with a lot of British humor. In fact, even comics. I all the Marvel and the DCs all went past me. I never got introduced to it because
please tell me what you
the
grew up
priest
reading.
introduced me to the dandy and the
Yes,
thing, so that's what I grew up with. So like I could never relate to all the comic universe. Because I was never into it. I was never
you had the
by
Dennis
the
the
time
Menace,
I
the
knew
Desperate Dan and all that.
yeah. By the time I knew about all the I would watch all the Supermans and whatnot that they aired in terrestrial TV back in the day, but the connection was never greater than that.
Okay.
Like a lot of our friends that we know are very into the comic universe. You know, so that stuff has completely gone past me. It just flew by. Because I was started off on something entirely different, and you know how the British comics were just completely different.
Yes.
Right, and then so it just spun out from there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then eventually in my teens I would pick out movies myself, and back in the day we would rent videotapes.
Of course.
Right, and then it was only late teens that we started to get CDs, and even then it was just CDs, but not VCDs yet.
Yeah.
It was Laserdiscs.
Yes.
First.
Don't forget the Laserdiscs.
Yeah. So it was only after high school, when I went to KL for uni, that then the VCDs came out and the DVDs afterwards, and yeah.
Then you coming back to Bino and Danny, because I think you'll be the only other person that I know that knows of those comic strips. Do you remember Banana Man?
Yes.
Do you know there was supposed to be an animated film?
Yes, I heard.
I'm still disappointed that there's not going to be.
This was a while ago.
Yeah, they came out with a poster. It was supposed to be CGI and everything, and then because I feel those comics are very underrated.
Underrated.
Nobody really knows about them unless you're British.
Yes.
The closest thing we've gotten is like that Dennis the Menace movie with Walter Matthau, which still wasn't.
Yeah.
But justice for Bino and Dandy, and also Buster. Buster's the other one.
Yes.
Now, coming back to your film career, like you were talking about how you started in commercials and then you got a film role.
Yeah.
Was that film role Gila Bola? Was that your first?
Yes, actually, that was okay. The interesting thing was, okay, so I'm close to that family the producer of Gila Bola is this production called Nizarman. Nizarman Sendiri Berhad. Now the producer is Haja Rohani, and I'm very close to that family. In fact, she's like my adopted mother here. Haja Rohani is like my I knew them before I started acting by virtue of I got to know them from one of their cousins who shares the same birthday month as I do, and hang on. Yes, so it was from Farah, the cousin. I got to know Shani. Shani is the daughter of Hajar Rani, the producer. And I knew them, say, about a year plus. I'd already started doing TV commercials then. So when the film came up, I think this was also at the tail end of Nizarman's production business, because I think they wrapped up afterwards. I think Ola Bola would be their last film, I think. So when they were doing not Ola Bola, Gila Bola,
yes,
Gila Bola. I said, "Hey, do you wanna have a bit part here?" And then they wanted to give me like a speaking role, and I completely screwed it up because I couldn't, I couldn't. I just had the jitters, and I couldn't deliver that line, smoothly, and I wasn't at that time. I wasn't thinking I was going to be an actor anyway. So you're not quite into it, and so that was my foray into it, and so I saw like a different side of filming besides TV commercials.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, after that gig, another producer spotted me and asked me to cast for. And this is the call I got actually to cast for a soap called Astana Idaman, second season at the time.
Yeah.
So that was the point. That was the crossroads for me. It was I had a day, like I said, I had a day job at the time, and then the shoot for the soap was about 3 months studio shoot, multiple cameras, MCP.
And that was a supported role or guest
No,
role?
it was
Main
one of
role.
the mains.
Oh,
I think they were looking for cheap new mains.
Okay.
And so it was a 3 month shoot, and it was either I ditch that and continue my day job, or screw my day job and do this. So it's an either or.
But how confident were you that even after that soap shoot, you would still get jobs after that?
No confidence at all. It was it's called, ignorance is bliss. Your ignorance of youth at the time. Let's just give this a shot.
Yeah.
If this is for me, it wouldn't go by. It wouldn't go past me, right? So I thought, okay, because this is a 3 month shoot anyway. So within those 3 months, I'm going to start to get to know as many producers and production managers as possible. I'm sure within those 3 months, the good thing about working in sales and marketing prior to that was that you tend to start to look out for opportunities that may come, and you start talking to people even outside of your domain, and so that's what I did. Bear in mind, this was way before social media.
Yeah.
So there's no other way to promote yourself other than doing it physically.
So the connections were really important at that time.
Yes. So you literally would need to call people, knock on doors and call people. Nowadays, you just advertise yourself on social media.
Yeah.
We didn't have the benefit of that back then, right?
Yeah.
So, in fact, TVC models had to have com cards was a big thing then.
Yes.
Right? So so much so that I printed a stack because you want to do it properly, and I got a photo shoot done, and I printed like thousands of these com cards that I never used anyway. Because by the time I'd printed them out, my name and number had circulated because I would already started doing TV dramas, and that really propelled the start of my career then.
Okay.
And so my name and number got around. And yes, the first couple of years was extremely uncertain. Not any more uncertain than now, but I guess a little more. So it'll be like 3 months of work, the 3 months of the soap shoot.
Yeah.
And then 1 month of nothing, and another month of work, and then 2 months of nothing, another 2 months of work. So it's that kind of business. And then, so what do you do to fill up the time? And so after a year of doing TV, I thought, okay, maybe I should start, I got like, what do I do with 2 months of nothing? Let's start doing theater.
Yeah.
So usually people start doing theater first and then
do TV.
So I did film and then TV and then theater and then back to TV, and so I was juggling TV, theater, a bit of film, TV, theater for all the way up until pre-COVID. Yeah.
Now coming to theater side.
Yeah.
Was that something that you wanted to do because you wanted to fill out the time, or was that also something that you had a little bit of interest in and goes, hey, let me see how it works on the stage as compared to behind the camera?
Yes, a bit of interest there. However, no, okay. I've never had any interest to write or direct.
Okay.
That much I knew. Because people have to expect you to want to direct, as if the natural progression of an actor is to eventually direct. That's not necessary.
It's a common misconception.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't want to be that responsible. Yeah. Directing just means I'm not that responsible a person. It's hard enough for me to be responsible for myself as an actor. It's impossible for me to be responsible for everything and everyone else. As a director. Yeah. So, anyway, I started doing theater also to as part of honing the craft, as it were. And I've also always liked plays.
Okay.
I didn't have that much of an exposure to plays. The first play I ever watched when I came to KL was actually hip opera.
I remember that
because one of my lecturers, Lim Tek Ben, I think ex-husband now to Sandra Sodhi. So anyway, he was lecturing in he's an architect, so he was lecturing us, and he was giving out these flyers, and I thought, and then they were showing in Dataran Merdeka at the time, right? So I went to Dataran Merdeka, and that was the first play I watched, and I was, wow, brilliant. Then you watch all these figures that you knew. Like, of course, back in the day, I knew who Afdin Shauki was, because I was a big fan of the Roslan Aziz production, music sort of like universe then, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I knew who Paula Malayali was. She was one of my first TV crushes.
Wasn't she all?
Right. And then Iskandar, who was that?
Iskandar Najmuddin.
Michael Xavier and Michael Voon. Who else was there?
I think that was the four of them.
I think yeah. So so that was my first ever play while I was in uni at the time. I think this was 1999. 99.
Yeah, I want to say 98, 99. Yeah.
98, 99, about there. So that was the first, and then after that, I went and watched a couple more plays, and then right after Dataran was flooded, and they had plays in Bangsar, the actor studio. But before that, my only other exposure to plays were stuff that I watched on TV. Okay, I read plays.
Okay,
I love reading playwrights, so that's the closest. And then obviously I read a bit of Shakespeare and all that. But I used to love. I remember really loving to read playwrights.
Okay.
I mean, that was a natural sort of like love for me. I love reading scripts. Okay. So in fact, So I think that sort of like that sort of stayed on, because I remember I read playwrights as young as when I was in my early teens.
Okay.
Yeah. So that stayed on. Sorry?
Which playwrights did you really latch onto?
These were not classics. They were like modern plays. I don't remember the names of the authors and all that now.
Yeah.
But I just remember the feeling of really enjoying reading plays, reading scripts.
Okay.
So I guess that stayed on, and then when the reconnection happened, it just triggered that, and like it brought that back to the surface and said, hey, I actually like doing this, and that was it. That got me, that cemented the deal for me. I mean, I knew what the challenges were up ahead.
Yeah.
I knew what the constraints were.
Yeah.
I knew what the limitations were, but I thought, hell, I might as well get myself into something I really love doing, and that helped me plow through, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the first play that you did? Was it Broken Bridges? No, right?
No.
Okay.
The very first one was Jalan Impian. It was a children's musical.
Okay.
By Farah Sulaiman and all that, and it was they called me because they saw me in they knew. Oh yeah, because I acted with one of Farah Sulaiman's nieces, Sabrina Hassan. And so I did a sitcom with her, and I think so she introduced me to her aunt. So I think she recommended me to her auntie. Said, "Hey, this Tony guy." So that was my first play.
Okay.
It wasn't a big deal for me because it was just I just came in because it was a children's musical. The play, the musical focused on the children.
Yeah.
So I was one of the teachers who was just a all over the place teacher who would come in once in a while to interject. That was my bit. Peter Ong was there. That's where I first met Peter Ong.
Okay.
Well. And from there, then I started getting calls to do Encore and then Broken Bridges. And then, so that year alone, it was a good year, start of the year. I mean, within the first year, I did 4 plays, 2 musicals. And I consider like Jalan Impian was a musical.
Yeah.
Broken Bridges is a musical.
Yeah.
Encore, kind of. And then what else did I do after that?
Was Rose I Love You the same year?
No, different. Rose was 2007.
Ah.
So the fourth play, which was a straight up play, was Electronic City, directed by Edwin Sumon.
I remember Electronic City. Yeah. Okay. Now
so that all happened in 2005. I started the TV thing in 2004.
Okay. So it's just a year after that.
Yes.
Now, moving on to the stage, undoubtedly, I mean, people who have acted would know there's a massive difference in terms of acting style for screen and for stage.
Yeah.
Was that something you had difficulty?
I had no idea about.
Oh, okay.
And it's great if you have, because I literally started on on an empty slate, like a clean slate. I guess the advantage of that was that I was uncorrupted. So I was not bogged down by, by rigid rules and rigid, parameters and what not to do and whatnot.
Yeah.
I was given I had the liberty to explore and to make up my own mind and to make my own rules, kind of, because obviously I didn't come out from training.
Yeah.
Even the TV thing I was just, now there you go.
Yeah.
But I was surrounded by people who were seasoned, and God bless every one of them, because like they all helped me out. They all chipped in. I would listen to everyone's advice. So you listen to 10 people giving you 10 different things. You pick and choose what suit you. Because everyone says, everything they say is valid. Everything, not a single thing, not a single person says something that's just out of the ass, right? So you take everything with with great consideration, and not everything will work for you. I guess there's a lot of trial and error as well.
Yeah.
So I guess over time I got to know what styles were, or why acting for TV is different from, say, acting in film and stage. Because I started learning the importance of identifying the medium, knowing your medium.
Yeah.
Because someone said to me, I don't remember who exactly now, but it was just the seasoned TV actors who had also done theater. Okay, don't forget, my first TV gig was with people like Datuk Jalaluddin Hassan, who's in,
it's a legend.
He's done TV, he's done stage, he's done radio drama, that sort of stuff, right? In fact, that's how he started. He was a big radio drama guy before he did TV. Hence the voice, hence the articulation, the projection. So people like him, I don't remember who now, like many people since have told me, like during that period, said you have to understand the medium. For instance, if you're doing TV, you've got the box, you've only that much space, and then especially if it's close-ups, and you've only got that much space, and you've got close-up, the benefit of close-up to make subtle gestures with your face.
Yeah.
You can't do that on stage. Stage, people see you're that tiny.
Yeah.
So you have to be big.
Yeah.
Like slight facial expressions will be lost in a big theater.
Yeah. Unless you're sitting like in the first or second row. But apart from that, it's all lost from the people in the back row.
Exactly. So, having that point out, that was pointed out to me. It was a revelation. So that makes a lot of sense. So these were all things that made sense immediately to me. And if it was a film, the reason films don't do extreme close-ups is because the screen is bloody huge.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense. It's counterproductive or counterintuitive to have someone's mug as big as unless there's a specific reason for it.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you will never see the close-ups that you see on TV, on film.
Yeah.
So that taught me to understand the medium and to work accordingly.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Should I? Okay.
Number one rule of podcasting: silence your phone, Tony.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'd already airplane mode it.
Okay.
That was my notification for my thing after this.
Okay.
You set up your
calendars
alarms.
and whatnot. Yeah.
So anyway, so that made me understand immediately how to work according to the medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, talking again about stage.
Yeah.
There is one role that you have done that you have possibly taken the mantle over, that people call you now to replay that role, and that is P. Ramlee. The legendary P. Ramlee, which you first started with, correct me if I'm wrong, with P. Ramlee the musical.
Yes,
that was your first time stepping into his shoes.
No.
Was it? No.
No, actually. Okay, how I got the... Okay, let's go back in time.
Okay.
So the first staging of P. Ramlee was with Sean Ghazi.
Yes.
Right? That was in 2005, 2006. And I loved that. This was at the dawn of huge Malaysian musicals. Thanks to Puan Sri Tiara Jacquelina, actually, who started the ball rolling for these huge musicals, which were great celebrations. Yeah. PGL blew my mind when I first saw it. Beautiful. It was just beautiful. I'm I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of musicals.
Okay.
They're not my biggest thing. I actually prefer straight up plays.
I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing about musicals is I still don't buy the whole and then suddenly break out into song. And
Yeah.
that
I
cracks,
totally get
that
you.
cracks me up all the time. But you know what? I did it for the money. I did it to, so that to hone my craft.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I also liked singing.
Mm.
I'm not good enough a singer to be a recording artist, but I think
beg to differ. You're a great crooner, to be fair.
well, singing in a musical is different
Mm.
because you have the advantage of emoting to to cover line now, because you might sing off key in certain places, or off you can't reach, excuse me, you can't reach a certain note in certain places.
Yeah.
So you use emotions to cover it up, right? But yeah, I think musical acting helps you train to be dramatic. Which is a good tool for an actor. So I guess okay. So back to P. Ramlee. So first staging was by Sean Ghazi. Second time, okay, when they wanted to restage it a few years later, they actually called me and says, "Tony, would you consider this?" And I was in the middle of a shoot at that time.
Yeah.
And had I taken that offer, the second staging, because I think Sean didn't want to do it, or he couldn't for some reason, and they needed somebody else. And after figuring out if I had taken that gig, if I had said yes, I would have only been given a month to rehearse, because I was in the middle of the shoot, and by the time that shoot finishes, I would only have a month before showtime.
Ooh.
And I love P. Ramlee, but I'm not an impersonator. I've never impersonating is not my thing. I've never been an impersonator of whoever I'm fond of watching and whoever I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
So P. Ramlee, I love all his films, but I was never into imitating him.
Okay.
So when the call came for me to play him, it wasn't a, it's not something I can immediately be comfortable with, because I would need a lot more time to prep.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened was I turned it down.
Okay.
I mean, for the good of all parties, because I would feel too bad if I couldn't deliver.
Yeah.
And then the company would fall short of coming up with a good product.
You didn't want to let them down.
Yeah. So I said no outright. I said, I'm sorry, but then of course they understood why. And they got Musli Ramlee to play for the restaging.
Yeah.
So a couple of years afterwards, they were producing this biopic on Saloma called Saloma.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a mini series for Astro. And if they've
Nadia
got
was in that, right? Nadia
no,
Akila?
it was Nabila Huda.
Nabila
Huda played
okay.
Saloma. So what happened was, if you have Saloma, you have to have P. Ramlee.
Yes.
So they needed a P. Ramlee, and Melissa Saila was the one who cast me for.
Okay.
Said, well, let me try you for P. Ramlee. And okay, so at least with TV, you have the benefit of takes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was more comfortable taking up the TV role than. This time I said yes, because I knew I had time, and should I screw up in the middle of a take, and you can always take it again. So prior to the shoot, I started doing my homework. Thank God, all the P. Ramlee movies are all uploaded on YouTube. So this is what I literally did every day.
Yeah.
I would watch P. Ramlee movies every night. 1.5 movies. I would literally sleep on my laptop, would be on my belly. So that was so the reason for me watching that. I wanted to, and it was very difficult at the time. I remember my struggle was I only know him as this P. Ramlee on screen.
Yeah.
I tried to look for like archival footage of him being interviewed. There is, can you believe it? There's only one surviving interview of his, and it lasted all of 12 seconds.
I see.
So that's the only P. Ramlee who was not acting that you see.
Somehow I feel Astro might have more. They just
I'm sure.
they're just holding on to it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure. But this was what was available in the public domain. So it was just this tiny 12-seconder.
Okay.
And it was an interview of, this was maybe a year or two before he died. Because you can see him, he's all, downtrodden, and he's all like, they were interviewing him about why he wants to keep championing the lagu asli and all that. And you could see in his eyes and the way, that immediately struck me as someone who was, okay, he's down and out in his luck, and he's, he's trying to make this happen. He's trying to make this work, but it's just impossible. Because by that time, the Beatles' influence was coming in.
Yeah.
So it's just the transition of the times. That was it. And so then I saw a completely different color of P. Ramlee, the man, as opposed to the roles he played.
Yeah.
So that was a good contrast, and it gave me an idea of what he's like and what he feels as a person, and how he completely, puts that aside when he goes on, the stage. Oh well, I mean, goes on screen.
Yeah.
So what I did was I just tried to, by watching his shows, I tried my level best. Because, so when you offered a role of P. Ramlee, what do you do? Do you play him? What's your truth of him? Is your truth needing to know about the man entirely, or do you play him in a way to show audiences what they would want to expect of P. Ramlee?
Yeah.
So basically, that's what I did. I just, tried to speak with his. I couldn't get his intonation down right, down pat, but I tried to be as the inflections, the rhythm of how he speaks, and his gestures. He's the way he talks, and he's very stagey. He's very, very naturally stagey in the movies you see. And so that's I picked up on all that, the body language and the way he talks, and how he likes to how he likes to have fun when he's interacting with people, or what we see on his films anyway. So that's what I picked up on. I that's what I used. That was my tool. And when I played the biopic, it was that's that was the start for me.
Yeah.
And then after doing that, Melissa Saila was called to direct a special P. Ramlee show, P. Ramlee the musical staging that was going to be taken to Kuching.
Okay.
For a special, because the late Taib Mahmud is a big fan of P. Ramlee. And so I think it was one of his birthdays, or it was a celebration of him becoming the governor.
Okay.
I think the end of his tenure as chief minister at the time.
Yeah.
So we did a special P. Ramlee musical showcase in Kuching, and that was my first P. Ramlee on stage.
Okay.
And by that time, I had a bit more confidence because I'd done the biopic, and now it's just a matter of putting in song and dance. But by that time, I'd already gotten the body language together. It's not perfect, but it's it's my truth of P. Ramlee.
Okay.
And then it was after that showcase, I guess it was, I somehow pleased the production, and they called me to do the next restaging for Istana Budaya. And that was it. That's how it started. And but it's been great because, okay, what it was scary at the time, because, like I said, I'm not that big on P. Ramlee.
Okay.
But despite that, you're called to do this, you're given this assignment, and you do the best you can.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, you've went on to sort of portray him again in Dendam Pontianak. Because when I saw Dendam Pontianak,
there's a lot of spin-offs afterwards. Like, you know what? I really enjoyed afterwards, it was like I kept getting calls to do corporate shows where, I'd play P. Ramlee and just, sometimes sing, but sometimes just mime, which is great.
Yeah.
Because I know all the songs now.
Yeah.
And miming, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. The singing is always a challenge for me because I'm obviously not that versatile a singer.
Okay.
I've got a very low range, and P. Ramlee has quite, especially his songs of his younger days.
Yeah.
I just can't hit those notes, man. But and he sings with this extreme head voice, and it's so difficult. It's so difficult. It scares the hell out of me every time I'm required to sing P. Ramlee's song of yore. His songs of his younger days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was I think he crooned more as he got older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could I put you on the spot and say, could you give us a little Getaran Jiwa?
Getaran jiwa melanda hatiku, tersusun nada irama dan lagu.
I can hear a whole bunch of makcik Serrano just cream their pants. Thank you for doing that, Tony. But yeah, honestly, when I saw Dendam Pontianak and I saw your cameo again as a P. Ramlee sort of character, I was like, is Tony being like typecast now for just doing P. Ramlee stuff? And then
it's not a bad thing. It's a thing. It's a typecast I welcome.
Because you also did Looking for Ramlee as well, right?
Mencari Ramlee, exactly.
Mencari Ramlee, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, now that you're more into it, if more roles of P. Ramlee come in, you can just easily fit yourself back into it.
By now, it's second nature.
Okay.
By now, it's second nature. I'm so glad that I put in the work for the Saloma biopic and then the staging in Kuching, because that prepped me for what I'm still doing today.
Yes.
Yeah,
And also, speaking of which, like, have you spoken to any of the relatives? Does any of the relatives know what your performance is like?
Okay, so Melissa Sila,
Yes.
who directed the biopic and the staging in Kuching. Do you know of her background? So
No.
she's the daughter of Mariani. Mariani is Saloma's sister.
Really?
So Mariani went out with P. Ramlee before he went out with Saloma.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, I didn't know she was related.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Melissa Sila is the daughter.
Okay.
So what was very, very daunting at the time was when we shot the biopic Saloma. Most of the filming was done in Penang,
Yeah.
and on set, at all times, Mariani would be next to Melissa, watching the monitors. And can you imagine how daunting this is? I'm supposed to play the man she once went out with. But you know what? After a couple of days of immense insecurity, nobody knew at the time. I just kept it to myself. I try not to complain too much or but I kept it to myself. It was very, very daunting every time I do my scene, because knowing Mariani is this, oh my God, am I even doing this right? Is she like judging me right now? And I could feel that judgment. And then I think it was on our third or fourth day of shoot, she called me to the side. She called me to her and said, come here. And I said, oh no, she's going to give me notes. I said, you remind me of those days.
Oh.
I said, wow.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, that's
you sold it.
That's all the validation I needed. That's that. After that, I flew.
Yeah.
After that, I had, because it lifts up, because I had all these insecurities until that moment she called me.
Because she gave you that sort of stamp of approval.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, is it okay? I'm no problem.
I'm P. Ramlee for life, baby.
No. That see, like, people's words can change your life.
Yeah. They
So
really
that's
can.
yeah. I mean, in very few words, she said that, she didn't even make a big fuss about it. She just, the sweet thing that she was. She's, and then me thinking is she's gonna give me notes.
Yeah.
You remind me of those days. I said, "Alamak, wow." A compliment can't get any better than that.
Yes.
In that scenario.
I mean, that's as close to P. Ramlee coming to you going, you're doing fine.
You're doing well.
Because that's how he sounded. I thought you had it down, Tony. What accent was that? Okay, moving forward to coming outside of Malaysia. Now, you have done things in Singapore, which we'll get to in a bit. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But you also had a very small role in the Bollywood film Don.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
How did that happen?
Okay.
And did you get to meet Shah Rukh Khan?
I didn't talk to him.
Oh,
okay. So this is what happened. I think it was in my second year of acting at the time. This was 2005.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was just an extra role.
Okay.
But because I wanted to see what a Bollywood production was like, like I've never seen a foreign production up to that point.
Yeah.
Said, okay, I'll take on this gig. I was one of the henchmen to not Shah Rukh Khan, but to his nemesis at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, after a few scenes I got shot. But it was interesting to see the scale which which the filming, and it's actually just the same.
Okay.
With better budgets. It's just Malaysian production, but scaled up between 15 to 20 times. That was it.
Yeah.
Because we would at that time they had about 17 assistant directors. Can you believe it?
17.
And the first okay, no, okay, sorry, not 17. 17 was when they were filming in India.
Okay.
So when they came down here, they scaled it down a little bit to instead of 17, it was like 12 or something.
But still, we'll
So
be lucky if
yeah,
we
yeah,
got
yeah,
3.
Yeah. So, but because it was such a huge production, and at any given time they might have like 2 or 3 teams filming separate things.
Yeah.
In tandem and concurrently and all that. So the first, second, third, fourth ADs were all from India, and then the following ADs, the lesser ones were all the Malaysian ADs.
Yeah.
But wow, that first AD was this this girl from India, and she was, she made sure, you knew she was the first AD.
Okay.
She was the boss on set.
Okay.
She would. Guys, come on. Shah Rukh, come. You come here. She was on the ball. She was on the ball
Nice.
with getting the production together, getting the workflow together. And it was strange. Okay, the caste system was real. Huh? I'm kidding you not. So during the break, we'd go, because the set was there. It was this club set that they built in one of the hangars in Subang. Okay, so it was this
Subang Airport.
Yeah, Subang
Okay.
Subang Airport. There's a lot of hangars, right?
Yeah.
For these private planes and all that, and so they rented one of these huge hangars, and they built a set. It was a club set
Okay.
where the shootout's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Scarface,
Yeah.
something like that, and every day of course, Shah Rukh Khan and Priyanka Chopra would have their own trailers, but during breaks we would say come out of the set. And they had this huge area where they would section by raffia strings boxes.
Okay.
So Malaysian side here, and then the crew of the Indian side there.
Okay.
The lesser caste would be it. So
Okay.
basically, everyone were confined to different boxes.
Okay.
So like I said, caste.
Very organized.
Yeah, very organized, but very, very caste sensitive.
Yeah.
As in, not caste, as in
As
caste
in
members.
caste system.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was like, first time I saw that, I was like, wow, okay. I mean, I guess this works there.
Yeah.
This kind of system works there because of their casting.
It's
But,
normal over
yeah,
there.
here that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you do not herd people by raffia string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're literally placed. You
Yeah.
are this cast.
So we would. The closest I got to Shah Rukh Khan and Priyanka Chopra was maybe 20 yards away. And then because we're not given the chance to talk, because they're there to work, and the last thing we want is for people to catch out us when we need to, because and I guess also this was 2005 where people was not so used to selfies and
that is true.
So that didn't present such a problem.
Yeah.
Had that happened now,
Yeah.
then it would have been a lot more messy, I guess, with the crowd control.
Yes.
But
Especially with everybody with a smartphone.
yeah. So that was the closest I got to Shah Rukh Khan, and but just watching him work, watching the Bollywood cast work was quite a sight to behold. So that I mean that gave me the first taste of a foreign and international production, and not many things go as big as Bollywood.
Yeah.
At that time, this was Bollywood at its peak.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience to see the scale of things of what could be.
Okay.
But then but the takeaway for me was that it's no different from us. It's just that they got
more money.
Yes. Yeah. That's basically the difference.
Yeah, the plain and simple of it.
Yeah.
And now moving from like a massive, big budget sort of scale to Singapore productions.
Yes.
Now you worked in Singapore for a little bit, doing film and TV shows over there as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I started with a musical called La Cage aux Folles.
Yes, with Wild Rice, right?
Yes, with Wild Rice.
Was Gavin also in that production at that time?
No, you know what happened? Because Gavin was in a production called The Importance of Being Earnest the year before. They actually contacted me. I don't remember for which character. I think it was maybe for Gavin's character, but I couldn't do it because of scheduling.
Okay.
Because I had to shoot something here, and then I think they called Gavin, and Gavin got the role.
Yeah.
But then a year after, they called me for La Cage aux Folles, and I, by sheer chance, I had nothing on for the time they wanted to produce that. And I said, wow, great! And I loved the piece. La Cage aux Folles is such a beautiful piece. I think as far as music, see, that was a good musical because it was okay to be gay in that musical, because it was a gay musical.
Yes.
As in, like, the theme wasn't gay, but as it was, it
revolved around that sort of topic and themes.
Yes, but by gay, I also mean happy. It was, and actually, it was a musical. It wasn't about homosexuality. It was a musical about unconditional family love. That was the core of it.
Yeah.
The whole flamboyant, Brigitte Bardot sort of like a vibe to it was that's just the cosmetics, but the core of it was about unconditional love, which was great. I read the script. Because I love the movie. I love the movie Birdcage.
With Robbie Williams. That's a classic.
Yeah, classic, and Hank
Azaria
was there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I love the movie, and then I at that time I didn't know the movie came from. When I watched the movie, I wasn't so into the craft that I would search for the history of where the movie. I just enjoyed the movie as it is.
Yeah.
I immerse very easily in whatever I watch. You know. So when La Cage aux Folles came and I found out that Birdcage was based on that, I said, wow, okay, great. I'll learn something new now. And the thing with working with Wild Rice is they are at the top of their game. And, they're headed by people. Glenn Gui, the director, he was the first Madame Butterfly. Like you're working with somebody who has worked next or the romantic interest of Sir Anthony Hopkins, no less, right?
Yeah.
And then there was
you've got Ivan as well.
Heng, who played my wife in La Cage. So it was great. It was okay to date. P. Ramlee the musical is great for my career, but La Cage aux Folles was great in that it gave me a total sense of. It made me appreciate love. It made me appreciate unconditional love.
Oh.
Which was the core of like I said, the core of the story.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I worked with Glenn Gui, great people, Ivan Heng, and the whole Singapore team. You see, Singapore has such a theater culture.
Yes.
Of course it helps that the government, the MDA gives them incredible and exorbitant and vulgar amount of money compared to us.
Yeah. They've got billboards, they're on taxis, their publicity is
on point. Yeah. And then, so that was a good run. That was a really important run for me. And then I left, I completely missed the cast and crew and the experience afterwards. And then I got called to do a sort of like a High School Musical type thing to shoot there. Went there for a couple of weeks. That was that. And then a few years on, I got invited to shoot this series called The Hush.
Oh yes, I heard about that. Yeah,
and that halfway, okay, because that I was needed to shoot in Singapore for like the arrangement was that I would shoot there for 3-4 days. I would have about 3-4 days gap, and I would run back here because it's too expensive to stay on there.
Yeah.
Because what happened was they didn't provide me accommodation.
Okay.
They gave me a chunk of money and said, "You manage it."
Okay.
You manage your stay here, and I said, "No problem." I had friends who I could easily bunk with, but Singapore having very limited space, for me to ask a friend, "Hey, I don't want to catch out."
Tough.
So what I would do is I would rent cheap hotels. I actually went to I stayed in all these capsule hotels just to because obviously whatever I got paid, if I had put up with in expensive hotels, I wouldn't even break even.
Yeah.
So I'd already finished 50% of my scenes, and I had like a 5-day gap, and I came back here, and I had a friend's birthday to be celebrated in Langkawi.
So we're getting to that point of
We're getting to that point.
Okay.
So, and I hate flying to Singapore because it takes about 4 to 5 hours from door to door.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, okay, this is minimum from my place to our KLIA, and we have to check in 2 hours ahead because it's international.
Yes.
So that's 1 hour to the airport, 2 hours of wait.
Yeah.
Get on the flight 1 hour, so that's 4 hours, and then by the time you're done, we'll finally get to where you're supposed to stay, 5 hours tops, right? Or no, minimum 5 hours. It can get longer depending on if your flight's delayed and whatnot. So it made more sense for me to take a bus there because then I can sleep the entire 5 hours.
Yes.
So that was my modus operandi then. So at that time, I just came back from Langkawi, and when I was in Langkawi, we were celebrating friend's birthday, and somebody had the good stuff, which is completely organic.
Yes.
No, and I didn't sleep because I was supposed to I bought a bus ticket at 3 a.m. because I planned it to the T. Finish Langkawi, fly back. Oh no, I actually drove back from Langkawi.
Okay.
Get to KL at midnight and get ready to get into my 3 o'clock bus and sleep.
Yeah.
And sleep in the bus. And the night before I had partied a little too much. It was off my face with alcohol and whatnot. And then when I got to the checkpoint, my bus was scheduled for a random check because buses were notorious for bringing in. The big thing about smuggling in Singapore is that there's a lot of cigarette smuggling.
Yes.
So
yeah.
And then I was singled out because I got up and my eyes were red, because it singled me out, brought me to a room, and they checked my bag, and I had like bits and pieces of the good stuff. Can I say it on here? Marijuana.
Yeah.
It's just weed, man. Come on.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not condoning it.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning it. But so I had that, and I said, oh God. And because it was such a little amount, like I said, it was leftovers, like twigs and stuff, you know. But I was just careless. Instead of clearing my bag before I forgot, it's stupidity lah. I have nothing, I have no one else to blame but myself. Unfortunately, I would love to have someone else to blame, but in this case,
it was just
carelessness and a little disrespect lah, because you disrespect the laws of the country that you're entering. Fair enough. I take full blame.
Yeah.
I take full ownership. So I was caught with that, and they actually offered to deport me immediately.
Okay.
And case closed, and have me immediately banned.
Yeah.
And I said, no, guys, I'm here for work.
Yeah.
And I've already finished 50% of the shoot. I would cause a lot of pain for that production, because they would need to reshoot all my scenes and it would cost them a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what bugged me the most, because in all honesty, if I didn't have this issue, I would not give to anyway.
Yeah.
So I had two friends there who were Malaysian actresses.
Okay.
Carmen Su and Sarah Lian, who are both dear friends of mine.
Yeah.
If I had taken the offer, how the hell am I gonna meet Carmen and Sarah when they come back to Malaysia? When I meet them, and there's no way not to bump into them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I would feel too malu lah.
Yeah.
So I decided. So the checkpoint people, you know, the authorities were very kind to me. They said, "Okay, abang let lu. We give you half an hour to think about it. Masa. Hey, do you want a cigarette? Because they confiscated my cigarette. Said, look, to help you, you know, like because they knew. You know, they knew I wasn't a bad person.
Yeah.
You know, I was just, you know, and they said, of all people to happen, we wish it wasn't you, but you know what to do.
Because I think safe to say, like, I've known you for a long time, and I don't feel that you have the intention at all to break any laws.
I'm not a nasty person.
Yeah, not at
all.
all.
I don't think I have a bad bone. You
like,
know,
the second I heard about that case, I knew you made a mistake. Like, you wouldn't knowingly do that.
It was so much so that a lot of people thought I was sabotaged. Because I came back and, hey bro, siapa yang sabotage you ni? Said, you know, I wish I had someone else to blame. Unfortunately, it was all on me.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, so half an hour came, you know, was up, and they said, so have you made up your mind? I said, yes. I'm gonna take the fall because I feel too bad for ditching this project. You know, it's you know, this is my doing in the first place. Let me just own up, try to be a man about it. Although I was scared. You know, I was shitting my pants, man, not knowing what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, you go in and you try to finish your work as much as, because we don't know how long it will take the courts to get back to you, because they held my passport. So I went in and I told my producer and my director, I said, guys, so this is what happened.
Yeah.
So they had, okay, let's not tell anybody else in the cast, because the last thing we want, you tell the cast members are the worst people to tell secrets to, because we talk.
Yeah.
Well, they talk. I don't.
Yeah.
I pride myself in that I'm not a gossmonger. You know, every time, in fact, when we gather with friends and anytime somebody decides to talk about people, excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't like to. It's not nice.
Yeah.
I like talking about ideas.
Yes.
Not people.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't. It's not. It's not.
It's not
it doesn't
nice
build me.
Yeah.
It doesn't develop me as a person.
Yeah.
So great. I said yes. Let's keep this secret from everybody else. You know, because we want to focus on this. And what they had to do is they had to reschedule, finish up my scenes as fast as possible. So imagine. So this was really a dark period of my life at that time. It was just, you know, only God knows the how dark it was for me.
Yeah.
Imagine with this cloud over me every day, I would come to set and pretend nothing's happening. Nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. That was the real acting.
Yeah.
Because
correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't even know if you were going to end up in jail.
I don't know.
Not.
I didn't know at that point,
Yeah.
you know, like, because I was trying to appeal.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you know, I was like, I'm completely remorseful. Can you guys just give me this chance and let me off the hook? And like, I swear I will never come back again.
Yeah.
So that there's no point, there's no way I'm ever going to cause any problems, because you banned me after this, no problem. And then, so coming to set every day, pretending everything is all right, that was so hard. That was so hard. You know, when you need to hide the darkness in you, and pretend that you're. Yeah, so this is when I realized, like, shit, the personalities out there, especially, you know, comedians who took their own lives later on. You know, like, I can kind of like understand what they went through.
Yeah.
Because their intention was to make everyone else happy. They themselves might not be. You know, which is sad.
Yeah.
Which is sad. So that was the closest I felt, because that was what I had to do. Because I didn't want to let people down, and I'm not gonna let people carry the burden of my sad story. So I kept it to myself, and it's very painful to keep it to yourself, and not having people to express this to and to share this with.
Of course.
And then by sheer luck, on the very day I did my last scene with Sarah Lien at the time. This is very strange. I'll get back to you on this. I'll elaborate on this later on. My very last scene was with Sarah Lien.
Okay.
And when they said, okay, it's a wrap for Tony, blah, 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 happy, joy. I came back, and the authorities, the anti-narcotics people came to me and said, "Okay, we need to haul you up now. Put you
Were
in
they
lockup."
at set already?
No.
Oh,
This
okay.
was after that. I went back to where I was
Oh,
staying.
okay. I thought they turned up on set.
No,
like,
thank
that
God,
would have
thank
been.
God. Yes,
Yeah.
but they didn't. So they came to shackle me,
Yeah.
bring me to the lockup for one night because the next day was my hearing.
Mm.
Hearing, did my whole bit. I wasn't,
Yeah.
shy, man, very shy. But what to do? So that was the first time the Singapore media caught this story.
Yeah.
And of course, I was, people wanted to interview me. I said, no, I can't. I'm not in the, I'm not in my peace of mind to do
Yeah.
this. I turned off my phone, turned off all my socials because by that time the story had come out, and my friends. So I didn't respond because for my own insanity, I could not go online and anyway.
Of course.
So 2 weeks after the hearing, it was my sentencing,
Mm.
and that's when I was sentenced. And they sentenced me for 8 months in prison. I think they also wanted to make an example out of me, in
Yeah.
Singapore, vindictive as hell. Anyway,
And it's unfortunate you are an actor.
yes,
Unfortunately.
so yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I understood why. I understood why. I mean, no bad blood. I mean, I because it was my doing. I disrespected the law of the country.
Yeah.
I have no. Yeah, I don't hate Singapore. I don't hate Singapore for that because that's their rule. That's their. I came in disrespecting.
Mm.
Okay, I was sentenced for 8 months. I was so afraid because don't forget the waiting time was so dark for me, and then I've got this. I don't know what to expect of my time in prison at the times, and I've never been in a brawl my entire life.
You were in the prison.
I'm not a jock.
Yeah.
Which, this is the misconception. People think, I don't know, maybe because of how I am, how I look, how I, I like to pretend I'm this obnoxious person. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's all a front. It's all a front.
Yeah.
All a front. Not a front to annoy people or to assert dominance. It was a front. It was semi joking. I do it for the purpose of having fun with people, because I do it to a level that's so ridiculous, that it's not. Yeah. So I mean, you know me, right?
I do.
And so having that in mind, I've never been in a brawl. I'm a softie. I'm not a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter. I'm not interested in contact sports and all that. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing. I mean, no respect to people who are into that. It's just not my thing.
Okay.
So wow, after I was sentenced, I said, "Oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen next." So that was the next level of the darkness. After the wait, the wait was terrible because I didn't know what was gonna happen. And then now I know what's gonna happen. I don't know what I'm gonna face in prison. So that was so scary, but I tried to hold my head up high, and then when I was shackled and brought to the prison, lowest point of my life. And just imagine the scenario.
Yeah.
Out of the Black Maria, we were shackled, about 20 of us, and then I was walking past the cell blocks, and they could see me because it was all perforated, but we can't see them.
Yeah.
So when I was walking past the blocks, and of course there's a lot of either local Singaporean Malays or Malaysian Malays who are prisoners.
Yeah.
And they saw me from inside. Hey, pelakon, pelakon. And I'm like shitting bricks. Okay, I'm like, how do I respond to this?
Yeah.
But as an actor, you know that your first impression counts the most. So what do I do? If I continue to I would look weak.
Yeah.
So I thought, what's up? Just to show, but inside I'm. But you need to act.
You needed to put out that prison mentality. In that sense.
It was a survival instinct kicking in immediately, and so that helped me. And so my daily objective in prison was just to abide by the rules. Just follow the rules. I mean, you got yourself into this mess in the first place, you know, like, so the last thing you want to do is to make things worse than it already is, you know.
And how long were you in prison for?
So I was sentenced for 8 months.
Yeah.
But what happens is they start you off on a clean slate,
Okay.
on a good behavior slate, just to give you the motivation to stay good, you know, to be good in prison. So you do 2/3 of the time given.
Okay.
Unless you become a pain in the ass inside and they would add on to your days.
Okay.
That's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
You do not want to add an extra day.
Yeah.
So I did 5 months and 10 days in total.
Okay.
163 days.
Okay.
I would count every day, man. So when I was released, it was like, wow. But then the next problem with that was because I'm so isolated from the outside world. I don't know what the acceptance is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, the anxiety was there. It's like, I'm happy to be released, but I don't know what's waiting for me out there. Are people going to judge me? You know, you have all these fears in you. And when I came out, the best surprise was I would get strangers coming up to me and said, "Hey, bro, welcome back. Stay strong, man."
Oh, that's nice.
Utter strangers came up to me because they knew what I went through. And like, so it's like, wow, okay, fuck. Can I say fuck?
It's okay.
So like, wow, then you realize, wow, people still love you, man.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That is a testament to your character, honestly. That's who you are.
And also people understood I wasn't there because I shot someone or I raped someone. I was there because I was just stupid and careless. I brought stuff that was illegal, you know.
One thing I do have to ask, throughout that 5 months and 10 days that you were in prison, what kept your head high? Like, what kept you going on a day-to-day basis that goes, okay, I can make it to the next day. If I can do this, I can make it to the next day.
Distraction.
Okay.
Because I read shitloads of novels. In the 5 months I was there, I read in excess of 70 odd thick, bloody. I would finish a novel that thick in 3 days.
Wow.
Because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so that was when a lot of input, literature, you know, like I read all the classics. I read all the James Cavill's Taipa and then Shogun. Because I remember I watched Shogun as a kid during the 80s.
Yeah.
The first series, right?
Oh, what's his name?
Richard Chamberlain.
Richard Chamberlain, yes.
Yeah. So I watched that and I've always loved the Japanese samurai aesthetics and samurai creed, the samurai decree and the spirit and the samurai, you know, their belief and the whole. That's always fascinated me. Yeah, and the whole aesthetics of the samurai, and you know, it's just very. I've always found that to be very, very fascinating. So, in fact, when the new Shogun came, I friggin' loved it because this time around it's controlled by Japanese producers.
Yes, so it's telling the very Japanese story.
Because the Japanese side, the Japanese actors were the more dominant ones, as opposed to the Richard Chamberlain version. Yeah, because it was Hollywood produced.
It was still white savior complex at that time.
Exactly. Yeah. So when Hiroyuki Sanada produced and acted in this, brilliant.
There's a reason why they won all the Emmys recently. For good reason. Shogun is... If you haven't seen Shogun, please go and watch Shogun. It's on Disney Plus Hotstar right now.
I've got friends who watched it and they didn't appreciate it because they said it was slow. You guys are... You guys don't deserve it. But it wasn't slow because what happened... I mean, because I read the book, it was very loyal to the book. And the book was great. You know, Cavill was a great writer. And... It was loyal to the book, and you know the slowness of the. To me, I didn't find it slow because it was the aesthetics throughout was just so mesmerizing.
It was such a good pacing. That's the thing.
I love the pacing.
Sure, people may find it slow because I always have this argument that because of how films and TV shows are these days, that it's become a very quick pace sort of thing.
Yeah. It's not TikTok. It's not Fast and Furious.
So when you get an old school sort of storytelling like this, people are not going to appreciate it anymore because they're going to be like, oh, this is too slow. Why is it so draggy? Why is it like 10 episodes an hour long? It's like...
And just the sheer aesthetic value of that was
And
just
it's beautiful.
beautiful.
It's a damn good
Lady
series. Go see
Mariko,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not, no. But her to date, her role, her character, is the best written female character I have seen to date.
That is true.
Courage, strength, loyalty. Wow, from a
Like that, if you look at people going, oh, there's not enough badass women on screen, she is a clear, perfect example of a badass woman.
I don't know how they're gonna outdo a character like that.
I am interested to see what they do with Shogun the second season.
Right, because that's off the book now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if there's anything being off the book, it's never sort of gone well. We've seen it with things like Handmaid's Tale, Game of Thrones.
No, I mean, but to be fair, Martin never finished the book. And I mean, it was a tall order for the production. See, a lot of people, we hate the eighth season, and said, okay, I have empathy for because you know when you're in production, you understand the trials and tribulations of production work.
Yes.
So I understood the how the hell are they going to match Martin's writing?
Yeah.
Wow, it was
they're just not going to.
It cannot. It cannot. So
cannot.
they did the best they could, and also during that season, all the actors had already started to sign up for projects after that.
Yeah.
You know, so I appreciate all the you know the problems they had for season 8. So I enjoyed season 8, appreciating the struggles. You know,
but only people like us will understand that people who are in the industry. That's the thing.
Of course.
But I also have to blame Martin because at the start of Game of Thrones, they were ready at season 8 to be like, "You're done with the boat, right? We can do the boat, right?" No.
Exactly,
I'm
right?
not done yet.
So that's why I understand the problem of I sympathize, and you know I totally it wasn't an easy task for the production. It wasn't. How do you measure up to the previous season?
You cannot. Now, thank you. I mean, I hate to wrap this up, but usually we go right now into the film segment of the episode, but because I've had such a good conversation with you, finding out more about your story and whatnot, we're going to bypass that because usually our episodes are about like an hour and a half, and I think we've run
overrun.
Hour and 20 without that episode, without that. But
well, you can always call me back another time.
Oh, I would love to call you back for another episode. But one thing that I do want to ask, again, coming back to the whole prison sentence and whatnot, one last thing I do have to ask is the treatment that you got inside there. Now, there's a lot of misconception, of course, when you're in prison, you join gangs, you see it on TV. What was your experience in it? How were the inmates treating you? Especially the fact that when you said that you came in, Blakon, were you given a sort of harsher treatment by the other inmates, or did they welcome you as well? What was that experience like?
Good question. Because obviously I've never been in prison in Malaysia, so I didn't know. I didn't know any different. So Singapore was the first. Being Singapore, they're very strict, so there's no corruption in the prison system. In fact, it's very.
We went on for so long, the camera battery died. Apologies for that technical difficulty. The cameras died because we were talking way too long, but that's not a bad thing at all. But yes, before the battery died, I was asking you what was your what was it like in prison? What were the inmates towards you?
So, like I said, this is the first time. Never been in a brawl. Suddenly in a prison situation. I've heard so many horror stories of prisons and all that. So I went to Singapore. Singapore prison. A lot of people thought, if it's Singapore, mesti senang kan, mesti.
No, at all.
Singapore. I mean, prison is prison.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't have mattress.
Okay.
We didn't have pillows. So basically, you sleep on hard floor.
Not even like a tatami mat or anything.
Okay,
or
they had a one of those.
those thin bamboo mats.
Yes, but it's very thin. It's okay. This is thicker.
It's thinner than that. Thinner than an A4 sheet of paper.
Yes, A4.
A4.
It's just to separate the concrete from
Okay.
you know, which I would have no problem sleeping on concrete. But anyway, because it was hard. So the first month it took me a whole month to get used to sleeping on hard floor because you're not used to sleeping on hard floors, dude. You know, so like the first month was just me tossing and turning after every 10 minutes because it took me a whole month to get used to it. And by the second month, I was like, screw it.
Yeah.
But the cells were only clean because we clean it ourselves. They're not going to have like cleaners.
Of course,
you know? So it was as clean as we get it to be clean, you know. In terms of treatment, I didn't get any special treatment. Okay, not in front of other inmates anyway.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let's talk about the wardens. In front of everybody else, they'd be like treating us like kind of like animals, but understandable because we're inmates.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about murderers because we were not separated. Although my crime was relatively
minute compared to some others.
But we were all lumped together. The only other inmates I didn't meet were sexual crimes, sexual criminals, and transgender inmates.
Okay.
They had to be isolated for obvious reasons. Okay, but all kinds of other blue collar, white collar criminals I met.
Okay.
Murderers included, like I said. But of course, everyone's innocent. You know, but
innocent until proven guilty.
Just don't believe inmates.
Yeah,
because they're all inmates, they're all criminals, so you don't know who to trust. And I have trust issues anyway, so you know I'm very careful with these things. So, like I said, because I was an actor, I garnered, you know, I harnessed all the acting instincts and ability that I had, you know, to put it to good use then.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, when I first went in, because I'm depressed, I'm so, you know, like feeling the lowest point in my life, but I have to not let this affect me.
Yeah.
At least in a, you know, on the facade.
Yeah.
I have to look like I'm tough. You know,
yeah. You had to put up that sort of image.
Yes. And other inmates were not sure of me because they probably thought I'm not the kind of person who would be bullied. And also, okay, because I don't physically, I don't come across as someone weak because I work out and I try to maintain a decent physique. And when I went in, it looked as if I was already. So in prison, I would do my push-ups and all that just to assert dominance, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what helped me through? My sense of humor.
Okay.
Because there was nothing else that kept me happy. After a couple of weeks, I thought, you know what? I better deal with this. And how to deal with this is to keep myself happy by humor. Humor was my biggest ammo there, my biggest attribute. And because by humor I interacted with my fellow inmates the best I could. And you know what, I don't want to create bad blood, so you know, like I made friends with the inmates. The thing was, every 2 weeks they would reshuffle us.
Okay.
So you're just getting used to all the other criminals in the cell. After 2 weeks, reshuffle,
new environment,
new set of criminals. Oh my God, I have to get used to these new people now. But like I said, what carried me through was my sense of humor. Okay. So I would make stupid jokes like, because the cell is tiny, and what we do to like, you know, besides reading, you know, you need to like move about a little bit as well. So we would just pace up and down within the cell, which is, you know, try to get my steps in. So sometimes like fellow inmate, because we had people the inmates consisted of people from all over the country,
Yeah.
all over the globe.
Okay.
It was not just Singaporean inmates.
Mm.
It was a lot of foreigners who had overstayed and all kinds of background, white collar, blue collar, CBT crimes or just petty crimes or just drugs or burglary or thug life crimes. But my way around it was to make people laugh and make people smile. For instance, I'd be like pacing up and down, and like somebody would like, "Hey, can you help me with this? I don't understand what this says. They're reading a book," and I would go like, "Okay, make it fast. I have work to do." But hell, you're just in the cell.
Yeah, exactly.
So those were my material, so to
Okay.
speak. To get me by. It was
Yeah.
mostly for myself.
Because you needed to find something to just keep you going.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes, and making my fellow inmates entertain gave me a lot of validation and made me feel good about myself.
Okay.
Made me feel like I still had value
Okay.
despite of my dignity had gone out the drain and all that, but that kept me going. And of course, reading was instrumental because I love to read, and by reading, you immerse, and that's my escape. That is my escape.
Okay.
But in terms of like treatment, what would happen is so. Eventually, I developed rapport with all the other inmates, and they eventually respected me and they liked me. They
Okay.
liked me. All my inmates liked me. Like once they found out the person I was,
Yeah.
and they like me. They all like wanted to be friends with me and all that. And then the wardens, in front of everybody else, they'd be like with me, but every once in a while, they would call me to single me out.
Okay.
Hey, you come to the room. Of course, in front of everybody else, they'll be, you, come here.
Yeah.
Once I'm in the room with them, they said, abang okay tak? Ada kena bully tak?
Oh.
Ada kena bully tak?
Okay.
Okay, I understand. It's less on wanting to take care of my well-being, my welfare. It's more on them not wanting to lose weight. Because what happens is, if there are complaints by the inmates to their families, the Home Affairs would hear about it and they would
they will get reprimanded for it.
Yes, the prison system would get the prison workers would get for maltreatment of inmates and all that. Then of course that would blow up. The whole the rest of the world's like human rights people will get into the so anyway. So I understood. Once you understand something, it helps you deal with it better.
Understood.
So no bad feelings for me. No.
Okay.
So my objective was just to be out of the way and from problems as much as possible, and like just don't step on people, lead the most boring life as possible, don't get in people's way, and like don't create ruckus lah. Because afterwards when I came back to Malaysia, I've been this one nobody knows because I don't make it public.
Okay.
I don't want to make this public because I don't want to show people that I'm doing this for the sake of like wanting to be, because I've been conducting like local prison programs where they want to inspire inmates that are about to go out soon.
Okay.
So to give them inspiration, to give them like semangat lah.
I think that's a great thing to do, to be honest.
No, because I might as well use what I got.
Yes.
Because if I hadn't gone through that, I would have no inclination to want to do something like this. Because what would I know? But now that I know what I went through, which is not too different from what they've gone through.
Yeah.
And what I found out? The prison system here is more humane in that the prison here actually gives them mattresses.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, maybe or not, but the prison
a
I
bit
went
better
to,
than what Singapore gives.
a lot.
Okay.
Singapore just did what was just
The
bare minimum, so that they wouldn't get bad press from the international human rights thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, but the good thing about that is because it's so uncorrupt as compared to some other countries, is you're not gonna, you know,
We'll let
here,
you sort yourselves out and figure that one out yourselves.
yes, because here, I mean, not here, not just here, but in other prison systems that I found out later on, because I met inmates in Singapore where they've had experiences in prisons outside of Singapore, and they told me if you have money, you're king. Because you can buy this and that, you know.
Yeah.
Singapore, no such thing. It was
Because there's no corruption at all.
Yes, because the prison wardens are paid so well that they do not need. It's like Singapore police, lah.
Yeah, it's the tightest ship you could possibly find.
Yeah, but you know, pros and cons. I mean, what I do love about the Malaysian system is at least they have a little bit more heart and a little bit more kindness towards the marginalized community.
Okay,
you
that's something I didn't expect.
Yeah. Okay. The best thing about Malaysians is, I think we all have big hearts.
Thank you, Tony, for coming on the episode. Thank you for coming here, for opening up about that time as well. And
I mean, I've made my peace. I made my peace because at the end of the day, it was my own fault. You know, it's so much easier. In the beginning, it might be very daunting to man up, to own up to your mistakes. But once you have done that, oh my God, the release, the burden off your chest is money cannot buy.
I think that's one of the wisest words I've heard on this podcast so far. Thank you for that. Now, before I let you go, this is going to be a first on the podcast because I'm trying out something new. Now, whenever we meet people of notable figures or whatnot, we always want to get a selfie, always want to get a picture with them and whatnot. The art of getting an autograph is kind of lost these days.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to ask you, I've got a special surprise of not just getting you to sign something.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
But getting you to sign an old picture of yourself. You don't know this. Tony doesn't know this. And this is something that I'm going to start bringing older pictures of people that come onto the pod. Now, would you mind signing this for me?
When was this? I have no recollection.
This was 2008 during Rose, I Love You.
Oh, in Genting.
Yes.
I was sharing a room with Sun Yun.
Yes. And I was trying to find the perfect picture, and I think this is the perfect picture to have you to sign for us on ClapperTalks.
Okay, this is totally me. Yeah. I look like unhinged, but I'm like okay. Now I remember. This was after one of our rigorous rehearsals because it was very tight. The show in Genting was very tight.
Yep.
So we had to do things on the far. You know, get. You know, it was just very far. It was a very last minute thing put together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But so this is me after rehearsals say, well, okay lah, I made lah gambar. I mean, I tried my level best to put on my best face.
Yeah, and I think that's the most gorgeous face I've ever seen of you.
Like, I look like I'm so intoxicated, but like, okay, like
you might have been a little bit.
Huh?
You might have been a little bit.
No. Okay, I remember this. I was not intoxicated. This was right after one of those really tense. Very, very tense rehearsal because it was just 1 or 2 days before the show. So we had, this is after the technical run.
Okay, technical run is stressful.
You know how draining technical run is, right?
Yeah.
I hate, in all of the process of theatre work, I fucking hate technical runs. But it has to be done.
Yes.
It has to be done.
Yes.
So that helps you put up with it because you know it needs to be done. Although sometimes, because when we get tired, sometimes we snap. Sometimes we but we're just humans.
Yeah.
But so far, I think I was okay for this one. I was as tired as I was. I thought because this was after maybe 20 hours straight of because everyone was like very, very kanchong because a lot of things were not sorted yet, so like not settled. So like a lot of changes were still going on. So it's like very, 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 very tense moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is I remember this. Now that you showed me, I remember this.
I hope it brings back good memories.
So far, so good. Yeah. Okay. All my memories have been. I've been very lucky. I've been very semi-charmed life. I'm like was just because I had a lot of good. I'm very lucky in that I always got myself into pretty decent. Only the first 2 years because I didn't know which companies to avoid working for. My first 2 years I went from good productions to really shitty productions to good productions. So I experienced like the two different polar opposites of like companies to work with. So this was okay. I'm not gonna say anything about the company. Yeah. Well, it was very last minute put together. Very last minute put together.
But this is definitely a photo. I was searching through like which one could I bring for Tony because I've got a few, but I was just like which one would be the best, and I thought this one would be. So again, while Tony signs this is something that we're going to start doing of bringing a particular picture for our guest, and somewhere along the line we might do something with it. Don't know yet, but let's start it either way.
Best.
Thanks so much, Tony. And just for the cameras, just in case, there you go. This is the picture in question, which will be on the screen anyway. But thanks so much for doing this, Tony.
I've had worse pictures.
Damn, I was hoping this would be the worst one. Okay. But thank you again, Tony, for coming on.
Thank you.
This won't be the last time, I'm sure. I want to have you on again. But if you want to follow Clappercorn, you can always follow us. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. Go and follow and subscribe to those channels for more updates. Where can they find you, Tony, on your socials?
Oh, okay. Okay, I've got IG. There's Tony Eusoff. I've just recently downloaded TikTok because I had to. No,
Come to the dark side, my friend.
No, literally. Okay, stations now they insist. Yeah, I mean for reasons we know. I mean, like it can't be avoided, but that's how it is. That's how it is.
Yeah. So Tony Eusoff.
Yes.
All right. That's your Instagram handle.
Instagram, TikTok, FB page, all the same. Yeah. I used to be active on Twitter,
but who is anymore?
You know what? Okay, I really loved Twitter when I started joining because I did Twitter way back when. I think my first Twitter account that I opened was somewhere in 2010. But after that, what I loved about Twitter then was that there was a lot of good. Okay, I followed for the news.
Yeah,
a lot of world news and all that is very fast. That's when I stopped reading newspapers because Twitter newses were so. Of course there's some propaganda, but you will also find news from the left wing and from the So, but then over the years, Twitter started to get so toxic.
Yeah.
So after a couple of years after the pandemic, I completely stopped tweeting. I still have an account because what I do is I just go on there and I follow news.
Okay.
Because that's where I depend my news from, right? But I do not participate.
Okay.
Because what happened was a few years ago when I started to like, okay, I don't like to make commentaries and like stuff that are too serious because I simply don't know enough. To be able to be like a champion of things, like some people I know, but to be fair, they know their shit. I don't know in terms of like outside of the thing I do.
Okay.
Like in terms of politics, I know close to nothing about politics, so I don't usually make commentaries in politics. But then sometimes I like to make like stupid jokes on Twitter. And the problem is some of them don't get it as a joke. They take it for like So there's no point. So I stopped tweeting after my last tweets were maybe middle of last year. After that it got too toxic and I just couldn't handle the toxicity. And there's just a lot of angst, a lot of anger, a lot of I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah, I get
couldn't
you.
deal with that. Yeah,
Which is why we're not on Twitter.
oh, you're not.
No.
Yeah.
I've disappeared from Twitter. I just use Facebook. Well,
But-
even
but
Facebook.
no,
also
but you
not
tried
so much.
Twitter first.
I mean, back in the day, and
Yeah,
especially 2007, when it was at its height.
Yes, and
Yes.
it was still good then.
It was still good. Now
It was
it's
a-
become
it
a
was-
cesspool of fake news
It
and
was.
whatnot.
It was very good vibes then.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very fun.
It was
But
very
now,
fun.
like you said, it's a cesspool of misinformation, fake news, and all that kind of thing, which is hard to regulate, especially on Twitter, because it's owned by Elon
Especially
Musk.
after yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much again for coming, Tony.
Thank you. You're
Makes-
looking great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Marriage
yeah.
does many things to people.
No, usually marriage makes people look worse.
I married a
you-
good one, that's why. That's the good answer. Thank you so much again for watching. I'm Nick Dorian.
And I'm Tony Eusoff.
Keep watching the movies.